All right, folks, it's Tuesday out there. Welcome into the show. October 30th, 2018 in the Northeast, the day before Halloween. I was about to say Thanksgiving. Day before Halloween, we call it Mischief Night. Not too sure what you guys call it around the country or out of the country here, but it is a big night in the New Jersey area. Some, a little bit of mischievousness, or mischievousness, however you want to pronounce that. Mischievous. I think I got that one finally right in the area tonight, but it should be a lot of fun. Welcome into the right side of campus. I'll be your host today and doing another solo mission here on Tuesday morning to bring you some action, some headlines. We'll go over some games tonight, a little bit of MACtion, maybe set up a little bit on the NFL card for this weekend and have some fun. But this is sportsbookreview.com, folks. If you're watching right now here on the YouTube channels, can't say it enough. Thank you so much over the past year and a half to 2 years where this channel has grown exponentially. Hit that subscribe button just below. Every single time, myself, the big man, Peter Loshak, Jimmy the Bag, anybody goes live here on the network, so you get that alert notification to come in, get in the chat box, and say hello. And also the best way to help the show is to retweet the show. Maybe somebody who hasn't actually seen the show before can come in and say, you know what? Look at this old man here spitting game on Tuesday morning, just before Halloween when there's some MACtion on here. I think I might follow along with the networks. If you see me wearing the hoodie today, yes, I am a little bit under the weather, but I got 3 shows today to do on sportsbookreview.com. Got the afternoon show on the Fox affiliate WCKG from 2 to 3 p.m. Central Time. And then a little bit later, me and Jimmy the Bag are going to wrestle up some NFL action, open up that book to take a look this week at some of those early lines and some early indicators that we might be looking at to play this weekend. So a lot of fun, a lot of good times here on the channels. Thank you for all your support over the years and helping growing sportsbookreview.com exponentially over the next couple of years as well. Welcome in Lawrence, Troy, Wayne, Jr., Von Polo, Fivasone, Jr., Wayne, Robert, Jay, Joey, welcome in. And we'll have a little bit of fun going over some stuff here. A lot of stuff went down yesterday, which we're going to review today and see if we can pick apart. But let's get into some of the headlines as we go. As you know me, I'm not the hugest NBA guy, but I do check in and like to watch some interesting theater, so to speak. And it's the Golden State Warriors and the Hampton Five doing damage last night with Klay Thompson knocking down an NBA record amount of three-point shots. And correct me if I'm wrong, folks. I believe he dropped that by the third quarter. Klay Thompson, 52. I'm looking at it right now on the screen. 52 points, 14 of 24 from 3, and only 27 minutes played in that game. If you're a Chicago Bulls fan, you went to the game, you probably just sat back and enjoyed the wonderment that is the Warriors at this point, because they are a phenomenal basketball team, as you haven't known. What's going to be the next step for them? Are they going to get bored during the year? Or are they maybe going to say, you know what? Let's break the all-time team record for threes in a game? Or even better, why don't we go for over 200 points in a regulation game? They probably could have done it last night if they kept their starters in and just kept the pedal to the metal the entire game. 149 they end up with. They're pretty magical out there to watch. Guan White, what's up? Yes, Clowns finally fired their head coach. We'll have a little bit of fun with that as we go on today as well. But some interesting stuff to look at here. But Klay Thompson, that's just one of those interesting things, man. Look, he shot 27 threes in 27 minutes, knocked down 14. That is amazing. That is the new NBA. Totals be damned if you're betting unders, and you're looking at a game last night where the Warriors almost went for 100 in the first half. Good luck to you, man. It's a long NBA season, but at least you get to watch some interesting stuff as you go along, and that certainly was one of them last night. And secondarily, on the bottom screen, when you see the morning headlines here, folks, the Brownies. Yeah, the Brownies are in the headlines again. I know this went around a lot. I tweeted a lot about it. We talked about it on the WCKG show, but it's kind of upset that it happened in the afternoon and not earlier in the morning, so we could have went over here on the right side of campus and what the Browns are looking to do with their future, because the future isn't looking bright. You know what I mean? What's the future for the Browns? You tried the route of getting 1 million picks in there. It's not working out. You tried the route of getting a new GM. He's not working out. You tried the route of everybody likes Hugh Jackson. Let's go on Hard Knocks and get a lot of good morale feel here. That's not working out. You're not giving your young quarterback the stability that he so desperately needs in order to be a quality NFL quarterback. Not only do you fire the head football coach in Hugh Jackson, you also fire his offensive coordinator at the same time and elevate the running backs head coach to offensive coordinator who's now going to oversee the offense. And Mr. Bountygate is going to take over as head football coach of the Cleveland Browns. And you got a layup this week, right? You're at home. You should win this football game. Oh, yeah. Kansas City Chiefs are coming to town, which I thought was really interesting yesterday because that line was like 8.5, 9 at some outlets. As soon as the Browns fired their head football coach and their offensive coordinator, the line dropped to 7.5. That should tell you all you know about the betting public and what we all think of the Cleveland Browns organization, where you can literally clean house and just promote some random dude, the offensive coordinator, and you improve your line by a full point. So the joke I was making yesterday, if you go ahead and fire Dorsey as the GM, does that make the Browns under a field goal or maybe put them into a favorite as the organization is waking up and moving in the right direction? Doc NYC62, Browns future equals sell the team to ownership. They know what to do. Exactly. And that's the exact point we're trying to make here. Nothing matters with the Browns except ownership. If you put the right ownership in place that puts competent people in your front office. Now, when we're talking about like competent people in your front office, there are good football guys out there. And I'm sure the Browns have some good football guys. But I'm sorry. If you're going to hire a baseball guy, Paul DePodesta, as one of the more important hires in your front office, that's a ridiculous move. We're not scouting Clayton Kershaw. We're not scouting David Price. We're not going after Max Scherzer. We're trying to win football games here, Podesta. All right? So maybe you want to move on and shift him and kick him a little bit down the road into the front office of the Cleveland Indians. That might work out a little bit better. We're also talking about over the past couple of years having a GM who is a lawyer. Yeah, just say, look, man, you want some court cases for me in the past? Hey, Sashi, how about you become the GM of the football team? I think you'd be pretty good at picking some of these players in the NFL draft. An absolute disaster. And they went way too analytical by saying draft picks are much more than players. Could have had Carson Wentz a couple years ago, traded away, and you laughed at the Eagles. Boy, we sold you down the river. We got an extra second-round pick, and we don't even like Carson Wentz. Well, I mean, how's that looking out for you right now? But having said, what did you expect out of the Browns this year anyway? I mean, they won 2 games. That's already a massive improvement over last year, and arguably could have had a couple more wins this year. But that gets down to your ownership, and that gets down to your leadership, where Hugh Jackson has no idea what he's doing out on the football field. He deserved to lose his job. The only thing I'm kind of questioning here is, why is Todd Haley gone as well? Because the most important part of this entire process is not firing the head football coach and moving on regime to regime. It's about keeping a comfort level for Baker Mayfield, that he has a guy in the room with him that he's been with all along, and now you're just going to put the running backs coach in there to start calling plays, and we'll see where that ends up down the line. Anyway, I just had to clear my throat there. Just trying to make it through. We're trying to save some voices here, so we'll hit the chat box out. A lot here, go over some questions that you might have. I know, we're talking Kent State, Bowling Green out there, which is kind of hilarious to be said, but that is exactly what MACtion is at this point in the season. And we're going to go over that game and have some, interesting odds and ends that you might want to keep an eye out for, what I tend to expect in that game. Next up here on the bottom, the Bucs vote Fitzmagic. Now, if you're just an NFL guy, right, and you're looking at it and you say, who gives us the absolute best chance of winning right now? You certainly might say Ryan Fitzpatrick does that for the Bucs. But I'm not looking forward to, if I'm a Bucs fan or if I'm Malcolm Glazer, the owner, and saying, you know what? It's all about having this older quarterback win us an extra game or two, which we're not going to the playoffs, number one. We're not going to make a run at the Super Bowl, number two. The only thing we're going to do right now is win maybe a game or two that we might not have won. And the worst part of the scenario is you're losing your draft pick status as well. So if you're the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, is it fun that Fitzmagic is back there? Does Mike Evans like it? Does Deshaun Jackson like it? I mean, I guess they do. But what is the good of the future of the franchise if you're playing Fitzpatrick right now, and he might give you the best chance of winning, which means you're going to win an extra game or two this year and blow your entire draft status. You're injured on defense. It wasn't going to work out this year. You should be able to clean house, but you also have that interesting dynamic that says if you're the GM, Jason Licht down there, which I don't think should have his job very much longer, if he says, this is going to decision come from the top, we want Fitzmagic to play, so I can turn around at the end of the season to Malcolm Glazer and say, man, look how tough that year was. Jameis got suspended. We lost everybody on defense. But you know what? This team really hung around, and we won 6 games, and maybe we only should have won 3 games with all that. I deserve to have my job back and come back. That's not the point of the health of the franchise. If you play Jameis Winston, I'm not even talking about Winston being the better quarterback in this instance, but you do find out exactly what Jameis Winston is. Is he a loser? Looks like he might be a loser right now. Lost his job through 4 interceptions over the weekend to the Cincinnati Bengals. But that's your decision on the future. If he plays well, maybe you can re-sign him. If he does not play well, you can move on. But at least if he's out there, you might get a little bit of trade bait at the end of the season, because we all know quarterbacks, just like pitchers, are overpaid and overcompensated for on the trade market. I mean, heck, if A.J. McCarron and Hugh Jackson are looking to go for twos and threes to make deals like that, you can certainly think that Jameis Winston, if he's somewhat eligible and plays decent and not injured, that he's going to get you something on the free agent market. Excuse me, not free agent market, on the trade market. Otherwise, just cut him loose, which looks like what you're going to do now anyway. So it's kind of interesting that they said. And Bucs, but no, I mean, look, at the beginning of the year, I had a buy on the Bucs sign. We'll see if they can get their team total. It was very low to begin the year. Same thing with the Miami Dolphins. But Fitzpatrick, I do think, gives them a little bit better chance to win because I think the team actually perks up when he gets back there. And you saw it over the weekend. They had a damn good shot to beat Cincinnati after being dead in the water in that football game. Why? Because Fitzpatrick came in and just started slinging it all over the place. Now, he is going to have games where you saw against the Chicago Bears where nothing goes right. He looks inept, and he's going to get benched as well. But when the running is hot there, Fitzmagic's a great boomer bust quarterback, and they play the Carolina Panthers, which that's going to be a really tough matchup for the Tampa Bay defense. Heading into this football game, Carolina looks like they're hitting on all cylinders right now. Who's to say that, Carolina even has to punt in this football game coming up? Over-under is 54. Carolina does play good defense. They're going to want to slow it down, but if you have Fitzmagic back there, he's going to throw 2 touchdowns and probably 2 interceptions. That's fantastic for an over, even though you're looking in the mid-50s interdivision game. So we'll see if we get some weather conditions, but I don't think it's going to be that bad on the East Coast out here. Manning with a question mark. And the reason we bring up Eli Manning today is not because of his horrendous play over the past 5 years. It's because now all of a sudden Pat Shurmur's saying, like, hey, you know what? Can't guarantee Eli Manning's going to be a starting quarterback this week, but we'll see what happens. What is he going to have a good practice week out here? If you are the New York Giants right now, you're not playing for anything this season. If you change quarterbacks, it's going to improve your team. And you say, well, wait a second. Who do they have quarterbacks even on the roster? And why would you actually say that? The way Eli Manning is playing football right now, you don't have much of a shot to win. You might catch lightning in a bottle if you're Dave Gettleman, another horrific GM in the National Football League, who pulled all the wrong strings this year, tried to cobble this together and tell you that Eli Manning was good enough to be your quarterback when it's clear over the past 5 years Eli Manning is not good enough to be anybody's quarterback at this point. And I always got a good laugh out of, even now you say, trade Eli Manning to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Blake Bortles is Joe Montana right now compared to Eli Manning. He has no trade value. Maybe in the offseason, a little smoke and mirrors, we'll pay half Eli's contract, we'll ship him down to Jacksonville for a 7th-round pick. You might have gotten away with that, and that would have been the smart move because then you could have moved on with the Giants. But maybe Dave Gettleman is smarter than all of us and had this entire year as a straight-up tank job for Eli Manning. So you say, you know what? I'm going to get my generational running back this year, but also we're going to be so bad that I'm going to get my generational quarterback the next year, which, look, we all know who's going to shake out. We don't know who's going to be a great quarterback. You have to wait till the combines and the rest of the year, and there's always players that shake out. But it looks like the Giants might actually have that magic silver bullet where they knew all along that they were tanking the hell out of the season because of how atrocious Eli Manning is a quarterback. You never know, but they're looking at starting him, not starting him, just like last year, Geno Smith getting that surprise start in Oakland for the New York Giants. Kind of funny when you watch it play out. But now Eli Manning, hey, do I want to play? Of course, Eli Manning. People say that Eli Manning's going to retire. Who's going to retire when you're like $20 million a year? You get to kick me out the door, man. Trevor Smart's right. Even though it's a fake account, Eli Manning's a good guy, but has no business playing in the NFL. Dreadful plays of late. He's right. He's right. He's a great guy. Nobody's saying anything wrong. I know he does a lot of charity work. Seems like an individual that spends a lot of time with the media, where if he plays horrifically like he does just about every week, he still answers all the questions. So he doesn't Cam Newton it out of there where he doesn't want to listen, or Jalen Ramsey can talk all that smack over the summer. Then his defense is getting lit like a Christmas tree, and he doesn't want to hear any smoke now. But at least you're right. He does stand up there. But they do make funny commercials, and they're the first family of football. Archie, Peyton, and Eli. Cooper gets thrown in there every once in a while with a bone on the, telecast. You'll see him up there like, oh, you don't know about Cooper Manning, what a great wide receiver he was. And also, if you're in that family itself, I know Cooper Manning's taking, look, the dad made some good coin, still makes some probably good coin down there in some advertisements. Peyton made a ton of coin. Eli made a ton of coin. There's no doubt in my mind, man, they broke him off a little bit of that, something. Like, look, man, we understand you went down with the neck injury. You weren't going to be a quarterback. Who knows what you could have been, but, we got you. We got you. That's probably what's going on down there. So keep hydrated throughout the day so my voice can make it all the way through all these shows today. But good for you guys to join me here in the chat box today. So we'll have a little bit of fun going over a few things, but I'll try to conserve my energy, maybe not get too angry where I blow the voice box out here and just cough too much and, get in the way. But we'll make it through the show. We'll have a little bit of fun here. Trade deadline, one of my favorite days, in NHL, in Major League Baseball, the NBA, I guess you could say as well, but the NFL. Remember in the past, it wasn't too long ago where nobody made trades in the NFL because the old adage is, well, the trade for a wide receiver, quarterback, running back, it's going to be too late in the season. I don't want to give anything up, and they're not going to be able to learn the offense. That no longer is the case. Looks like you have a lot of moving parts that are going to take place today. Some teams needing added pieces to get them over the hump, which is great because when you see in baseball, the front runners can step in and get that off the cheap, bottom of the barrel teams who can't sign the guy the next year. Player rentals, the big teams, they can overpay. Manny Machado to the Dodgers, who doesn't look like even they want to re-sign Manny Machado. So that's always an interesting situation. But taking a look today, when you see it, where's Le'Veon Bell going to be in a couple weeks? Do the Steelers even want Le'Veon Bell back, to be honest? I think they're praying that somebody picks up the phone and says, dude, just give me a third rounder for Le'Veon Bell. We'll send them right to your team. We can move on, because you could tell James Conner sort of ingratiated himself to that football team, playing hard every week, not skipping a beat. And Le'Veon Bell is going to come back after not being around the football team for what seems like a damn near year. And he's just going to be fit right in. And he's going to hurt a hamstring, calf, twist an ankle. It happens all the time when these guys sit out this long. I mean, heck, look at Khalil Mack, cut out the whole season. Now he's on one leg already because you overcompensate coming back that quickly. You don't get to build up those calluses, as they like to say, over training camp with, the hitting and the every single day activity. Sure, I'm sure he's working out with a personal trainer, and I'm sure he's working out hard, but there's no replacement for practicing and getting into that daily grind with your teammates there. But Connor is playing fantastic football. He does make the occasional, young running back mistake, but when you watch the football game for the Pittsburgh Steelers, he is an absolute asset to that team. They don't need Le'Veon Bell back, so we'll see where he goes. Also, you look at the teams like the Philadelphia Eagles looking to upgrade. You see even Osemele out in for the Oakland Raiders looking to make an upgrade on the offensive line position because the Eagles are extremely banged up there. Are you looking for a wideout and who's actually available for the right price? I know you see a lot of Deshaun Jackson talk. I don't think he's coming back to Philadelphia, but boy, wouldn't he fit in great, though, honestly, with the Houston Texans? You go down Will Fuller, you upgrade with Deshaun Jackson. I don't say upgrade, but you fill in with Deshaun Jackson. That would be a great move for them, but it looks like Tampa Bay is going to hold a little bit hostage where Deshaun wants out of town. They say, no, you're not out of town. Maybe just be that good soldier for the next 24 hours and they can make a decent deal because Deshaun Jackson is owed a little bit of money for next year, but it's apparent that he's still a lively wide receiver in the NFL and can get off on the deep ball, and that's exactly what you need to try to roll coverages off of DeAndre Hopkins. So we'll see if he can actually get out and make a move there. But a few other interesting things, again, when you're looking at the NFL, these teams hold their draft picks like gold. Like if you were to say right now, Le'Veon Bell is going to be with the, I don't know, he's going to get traded and somebody really needs a running back to Philadelphia Eagles, for instance, giving up a first-round pick, and you can sign him. You'd say right now, like if the draft came up, because he's still a relatively young running back, if Le'Veon Bell's in the draft, is he a first-round pick? Yes, he's a first-round pick, but for some reason, the NFL would rather take a flyer on some unknown, left tackle in the 19th position as opposed to taking Le'Veon Bell. I get it. He's going to cost a lot of money, but sometimes, that whole philosophy of we need a lot of draft picks to replenish, I'd rather have the player in most instances than the draft pick, but it's always interesting to see as the deadline comes down. Last bit of information here on the morning headlines. 2 and 5, LeBron James. There are some suspensions and they're not playing well. I get all that, but I didn't anticipate 2 and 5, maybe a 500 start, 3 and 3, something like that would have been a little bit more appropriate for the Los Angeles Lakers. But as I said before, I'm with the NBA, the ultimate conspiracy theorist out there. There's no question about it. I love conspiracy theories. And there's no way, if you're the NBA, that you can afford to have your marquee franchise get one of the best players of all time and have them slip and slide throughout the year. What happens if LeBron's team wins 40 games and misses the playoffs? That's a monumental disaster for the NBA with ratings where nobody would catch up. You need at least the Los Angeles Lakers to be in it for the whole season. The NBA knows it. It's going to have to start getting slanted that way where they get every foul call, every break imaginable, because the Lakers being out of it is a ratings disaster. You have LeBron James, probably the most marketable athlete in the NBA. He's out on the West Coast, which already takes out the East Coast completely because they play the majority of their games after we go to sleep. Golden State Warriors, folks, they're on the West Coast, the marquee team in the NBA. They play the majority of their games after most of us on the East Coast are asleep. So that is disastrous if even the Lakers dip out a little bit and don't make the playoffs. We already don't get to see the Golden State Warriors enough until they play in the playoffs or the NBA Finals and the games are starting at 8 or 9 o'clock. It's already too late for the East Coasters. The NBA does have a huge issue where they need somebody to rise up in the East and take control, hoping the Celtics, maybe Toronto and Kawhi Leonard But when your two marquee franchises are out on the West Coast and one's dipping below 500, they need to help them out and get them in the playoffs. So we'll see what happens next year. Welcome in everybody again in the chat box here. Riding solo today on the right side of campus. Big man on campus is under the weather. But I'm going to forge all the way through. We're going to make it through the show. Hopefully the voice will hold out, and we'll see what happens here. Walter Trotter, now Magic is saying we're getting a superstar next. So, yeah, it's unlimited. Isn't it nice? Isn't it nice, though? Isn't it nice if you're a Los Angeles fan? Dodgers, unlimited payroll, whoever you want. Whoever you want. It doesn't matter what the luxury tax is. We'll just go out and get them, and we'll continue. Los Angeles Lakers, I mean, it wasn't long ago where the NBA changed their exact structure of the salary cap, so they were allowed to get Shaquille O'Neal. They do a lot of stuff for them. They allowed Jerry West, who worked for the Memphis Grizzlies, to trade Kwame Brown for Pau Gasol straight up. And the Lakers get away with murder. Kobe Bryant's going to the Charlotte Hornets, so they trade Vlade Divac straight up for Kobe Bryant. I mean, the Lakers have gotten a ton of benefits. The only time that it was nice that the NBA finally said enough with the Lakers nonsense was when they blocked the Chris Paul ridiculous trade out of the NBA-owned Pelicans to go to the Lakers. And one of the more egregious moves ever. They finally woke up and said, look, we helped the Lakers out enough. This is ridiculous. Let's shut it down. And, of course, in the offseason, LeBron James goes over to the Lakers this past season. So Lakers don't need a lot of help. Trust me. They don't need a lot of help. It's a destination that a lot of people want to go to. And the NBA usually looks the other way in most of the instances there. Donnie, do you have a website? No, I don't have a website. Do not have a website. Sorry about that. Robin Spears, Gruden cashes in all these first-rounders on youngsters and needs a franchise back to stabilize them offensively. Develop. Bell, welcome to Vegas. Yeah, but they're headed, Robin, way down the road. They're playing the long game in Oakland. A running back right now, as we know, you can fall off the cliff real quick. You can get injured. You know, Le'Veon Bell has taken a lot of hits over the years, and that's the reason why he's holding out right now and saying, look, I'm not getting 400 touches this year. I want a lot of money. I want to head in the free agency as a healthy running back. That's why he's not around the Pittsburgh Steelers right now. If the Pittsburgh Steelers paid him, $50 million guaranteed, he would be playing right now, probably playing well for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But they're playing the long game in Oakland, and good on John Gruden. He signed a 10-year contract. He holds that organization hostage. He can just do a Sam Hinkie if he wants to, trade every single football player away, knowing that they're not going to be in Oakland, and maybe not even through Oakland through this year, and maybe moving to San Diego. This is a nomad type of team right now that doesn't really have a home and doesn't really have, a structure in place right now where they actually want to win games. And if you're paying the coach for 10 years, we'll be there for at least 7 years because they don't have any money in Oakland to go and spring and make the payout. Just like the Will Ponds up for the Mets. Mets don't have any money, so they can't go out and sign big-time free agents. That's why you always hear they're trying to trade their young pitchers, but they actually are going to have to sign them to a $200 million deal when Bernie Madoff absolutely bankrupted the franchise and they couldn't even make payroll for years without borrowing money from Major League Baseball. Oakland Raiders, the same type of thing. Al Davis didn't come from a lot of money. Al Davis didn't, bank billions of dollars. He probably started the Oakland Raiders with like $1,000 in his pocket in the AFL and strung some things together. And they don't even own the stadium out there. It's a horrible stadium setup, which is the reason why they're going to Vegas, because Vegas said, look, we'll build you one. Just come here and we can partake and have a lot of fun. The Oakland Raiders are playing that extremely, extremely long one. Do you blame them? The Raiders don't have anything since the Tuck rule? No, because they're a horribly run franchise. One of the more inept franchises of all time, but that's what happens when you have a dinosaur owner who loses it and doesn't know what he's doing. And you take the Jamarcus Russells out here and you hire the Lane Kiffins when they're like 22 years old to be your head football coaches. You routinely over the years as the Oakland Raiders played your head coaches much lower than most teams paid assistant coaches. That's what gets you into that trouble. Also, if you remember when Al Davis died, Hugh Jackson, the wonderful Hugh Jackson, sank that franchise underwater with a power struggle, trading away picks, trying to get Carson Palmer, and he ended up getting fired, and that ruined the franchise for a while. But you saw how they drafted down the stretch. The Troy Williamsons or whoever the wide receivers that they would take and overreach for defensive backs. And I remember the one key cog that used to always come out around draft time is when Al Davis got older, the scouts would say through anonymous sources, look, when we see a guy run a 4.3, we immediately tack an extra tenth or two of a second onto his 40 just so Al Davis won't draft the guy because we don't think he's a very good football player. So if you see a wide receiver run a 4.2 40, Al Davis might take him 5th overall when he's supposed to go in the 5th round. So they would just say he ran a 4.5 40 to Al Davis, so he wouldn't take him. That's what you had to do. You also had Amy Trask running the organization into the ground for 15 years. Yes, great. She's a woman making her way up there, but that organization with Amy Trask and Al Davis was an absolute travesty in the NFL, and right up there with the way the Detroit Lions were running for so many years out there. Steve Marin, Eagles should get McCoy A couple weeks ago, I might have seconded that. And I don't know why the Buffalo Bills are actually hanging on to McCoy if he's worth anything to anybody around the league. He's owed a lot of money next year. He's getting older. You see, he's not the same Shady McCoy that was running wild for the Eagles back a couple of years ago under Chip Kelly winning the rushing title. And then all of a sudden Chip Kelly saying he's not a one-cut runner. I can't use him. I don't think he's very good anymore. And ships him off to Buffalo for Kiko Alonso, one of the worst deals that you're ever going to see in Philadelphia. Outside of Chip Kelly just cutting Deshaun Jackson outright because he's in a supposed gang and he's not good for the team. And he doesn't want to hydrate enough. And his bios are off at night because he doesn't get enough sleep. Type of equations from Chip Kelly. But, I just don't think Shady McCoy has a ton left at this point. It would be a feel-good story for the fans, I guess. Hey, Shady's back. Let's see what we can do. And we need a veteran running back presence. But he's not the same guy that he was even last year or a year and a half ago. So, and maybe if you get him for a 5th or a 6th round pick, I could see. But from all intents and purposes, the Buffalo Bills are saying he's not available and we're going to want a lot for him. And I can't see why, because the Buffalo Bills are a horrible offense going nowhere. You might as well stack draft picks and shake loose some of the free agent or some of the contracts that you have so you can try to rebuild over the future in the next couple years. Bell might get screwed and he only has himself to blame. You can't fight City Hall. Well, I mean, look, if we're looking at Le'Veon Bell, I don't agree with what he did because you never get that money back. It's always the thing when you see, let's just say like the union guys strike for 4 or 5 months, the wages that you lost, even in the increment that you're going to get the new contract under and then maybe a bump in pay, you never really make that money back. And I don't think Le'Veon Bell's doing himself a service by doing this. But yeah, he's betting on himself. He's already banked a lot of money. If he just shows up for the Pittsburgh Steelers the next 2 weeks, going to bank about $7 or $8 million this year and then float off into the free agent market, which I get. He's betting on himself, which is something to be commendable and honorable in doing that. But I just think he's leaving a lot of money on the table because you don't know if you're ever going to make that money back. And he was going to make a decent amount, just about $1 million per game this year if he comes back. But obviously he's going to sit there. Ron Fig, the Raiders Stadium is coming along nicely. It's 5 miles from my house. There's no parking lots, lots of Uber rides and shuttles. It's interesting you bring that up there because I don't know if that was actually done by design where the casinos would figure that you're coming in and staying there and going to games, as the opposing fan base, and you'll pregame at the casinos and, the areas around the stadium itself, Mandalay Bay down that end. I don't know, a couple of those, MGM, whatever it is. Maybe they looked at it as that's a plus because, indigenous to the Northeast, we like to tailgate. If there's an Eagles game at 1 o'clock, they show up at 6 a.m. If there's an Eagles game at 8 o'clock at night, for a primetime Sunday night game or Monday night football game, they show up at 8 a.m. The grilling out, the drinking beers, the hanging out, throwing the football around. That's what we do up here in the Northeast. And it's kind of interesting there because I know football, you have the UNLV Rebels, but technically new to that area will be the Raiders coming in. And tailgating is a big thing. But then again, there's no built-in base out there that I guess would tailgate. And do you tailgate in 100-degree weather in a blacktop parking lot? I don't know if that's the greatest thing because, again, in the Northeast in the fall, you'll get some warm days in September, but it gets cold in October, November, and December. And if you're in September and October out in Las Vegas, do you really want to be out there midday in 100 degrees on the blacktop, cooking in it with a barbecue? I don't really know if that's it. Donnie, try honey for your sore throat. It does wonders. Yeah, it's not really so much a sore throat yet, but look, I have a 6-year-old or a 7-year-old daughter, a wife. People get sick all the time around me. It happens every single time around this year when the weather starts to change, which it is doing now. So we'll see if we can fight it off. It started coming on over the weekend yesterday. Almost lost it during the WCKG Fox show, but was able to fight it through and do that there. Eagles are tailgating for a game 2 weeks from now. That's true, Robert. I mean, we get out there early. And I've been a season ticket holder since 2003. Haven't been to a regular season game over the past 2 years because, as you know, I'm with you guys on Sunday, but I do still hit the playoff games. And look, when I was in my early 20s going to these football games, I used to love it. I had a different aspect on life. I had a different job where I worked later at night. So, hey, if it was a primetime game, fantastic because I get to sleep in the morning. I'm young. I want to get out there and enjoy it. Not so much into my 40s right now. Tailgating really not for me. I'd rather show up, 45 minutes before kickoff, get into my seats and enjoy the game. But that's what happens when you get old. Shot of whiskey will help you out. Yeah, look, I'm a big whiskey guy, big vodka guy. Not so much of a beer guy, but I do have a couple beers in the background. Maybe have a muscle milk after the show to coat the throat and get me ready for my daily activities. And what we have, I love tailgating. We'll find a way. No, tailgating's great. That's why it makes football so fun. You don't have a game each and every night, like maybe you would in the NBA or the NHL, which is why, a lot of people have friendships through football just by meeting over at the tailgate. So, I mean, a lot of that stuff goes into it, and that's why football is family, as they like to say on the NFL. That's a lot of stuff, and the same people that you're being around. Like if you're a season ticket holder, I know a lot of you guys probably in the chat have had season tickets or, gone to a lot of games in the same area. It's the same people year after year after year after year that you build friendships with, that and you see, they're not your, quote unquote friends, but the guy that even sits like 3 rows away, he's there every week for 15, 20 years. You see him every week, you get a little bit of friendly, say hello, and do that. Walter Trotter, Donnie likes Crown. Yes, I do need a couple drops of vanilla Crown right now, which would hold me up pretty well. Mix it in. You're right. Maybe a little honey. You know what I mean? Yeah, what? You guys got the right idea. Maybe a hot toddy this afternoon. Try to get me through, rebuild the energy for the shows that I have to do later, and see if we can restock. But when you do a solo show, you got to use the pipes, man. You got to use the pipes all the way through. But that's our headlines here. Let's slide it down if we can. And if you're checking out just under there, Bovada, always the promoted Sportsbook of the week here on the right side of campus. If you do need lines, extra books, the one great thing I do have in New Jersey is there's a lot of mobile applications, a lot of legal ones. So, you get to check that, match it off with the offshore books that we provide here at sportsbookreview.com. You have the complete analysis of each and every book, who gives the right bonuses out, who also provides the fastest payouts, the ratings. It's all there. Check out sportsbookreview.com. If you haven't done so yet, also, look, we read lines all the time here in this business. You can't get enough information, and we've upgraded many times over the past few years at SBRodds.com. You're going to get the percentages of which bets are going which way. You're going to get that Christmas tree alerts, man, when the lines are changing, the colors pop up on the screen. So always give SBR Odds a look before you're looking to place your bet. And if you're looking to put some money into a sports book, always check out sportsbookreview.com for all the latest updates and ratings and rankings of the sports book out there. If we could slide it down, or maybe we're not going to slide it down, I'll slide it down on my computer screen so I can see exactly what happened. Monday Night Football Snooze Fest, folks. The Buffalo Bills last night. If you heard me and Jeff talking, on any show yesterday, I was very concerned that the Buffalo Bills weren't going to score very many points if you're looking to be an overbacker in that football game, and they did not disappoint. You saw right away in that game the reverse passes, the flea flickers, the wildcat offense. They threw the kitchen sink at New England, because they knew they have a smoke and mirrors type offense right now that can't do very much with a dinosaur quarterback. It was an absolute snooze fest the entire football game, but the Bills offense did make me laugh. And again, they're saying, let's hang on to Shady McCoy. He's one of our better players. Look, what are you hanging on for, Buffalo? Seriously. Tank. Get to the bottom, man. Maybe you can rebuild. You have your quarterback of the future, what you hope would be your quarterback of the future in Josh Allen. Maybe you can get him a big-time wideout if you finish in the top 5 in the draft. What are we trying for anymore? You know what? You might just want to keep just Derek Anderson out there for the rest of the year. Let Josh Allen just rest up. Maybe you can get him some weapons next year so it's not all on his shoulders or risk injury. You got to tumble down to the bottom of the barrel because there's some really poor football teams out there that are going to be button heads to try to get that number 1, 2, or 3 overall pick. The Patriots do escape in that one, but it's what they do. That's a business trip last night. A lot of guys banged up, sit some guys out. Let's look to just get through this football game, which is what they did, and end up covering the spread on that interception return midway through. Actually, it was pretty late in the fourth quarter now. I think about it, 6 or 7 minutes, I believe, were on the clock at that time. So they do cover the line, but nowhere near the total. And finally, you picked that game as an over-under, and you went on the under in that game. Didn't it feel good? You can actually sit back and watch that game, a dead, stone-cold under that has no business going over, and you can relax and watch it. We finally got one of those games to match up and said, you know what? I don't think this game could go over 44.5, and it had no prayer to go over. So if you are an underbacker, that gives you some sort of, coming off of life support. We don't have to stress every single football game that sometimes it does go down your way. Rodgers on deck. What a great game that's going to be this weekend, man. 2 Titans in the pocket going at it left and right. We'll see if the defenses can hold up. We'll see what the weather's going to be like in Foxborough. But what type of shape are we going to have the Green Bay Packers coming in with? They should have probably won last week versus the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams pull one out of a hat. You have a little bit of team turmoil there with Ty Montgomery coming out of the end zone like an idiot, fumbling the football, costing Rodgers a chance to get back on the field to win that football game. But are they going to be angry, the Packers? Are they going to be like, can we let one slip away? Let's get after it this week. But that hurts. When you go on the road against a team that you're an underdog against, where you're looking to just fight, claw, and stay in that football game, and it looked like you had a really good chance to win it, that one's going to sting a little bit. But then again, it's Aaron Rodgers. And you're not going to get the same type of pass rush that you're going to need to get after Aaron Rodgers every single week that goes by. I believe his knee does get a little bit better. You see he does wear the Don Joy brace on the leg. But look, he looks like he's moving around well. Obviously, the arm's not an issue, getting a little more healthy at wide receiver. Even the young guys for the Green Bay Packers, like Valdez-Scantling out there. I mean, they're really good young guys, and they have a plethora of weapons. If Jimmy Graham can just stay healthy over the middle, looks like they got a little bit of a running game going last week. The offensive line getting healthy, the defensive backfield getting healthy for the Packers. They should be able to show up in this game. So it's going to be interesting if that line's going to stay and hover around that 7-point level. Let me just dip in here to SBRodds.com and see what we're looking at here. Yeah, look at that, man. 5.5, because I know it was opened up a little bit yesterday, those early lines that come out, and then they shut it down during the Monday Night Football game. But it looks like you're going to get about 5.5 or 6 if you're looking at the New England Patriots. Let's just check a little bit of maybe some early weather conditions. Not too bad. Look, Green Bay's used to playing in cold, so is New England. Mid-40s, around that 43, 44 range. But the key ingredient here, folks, is light winds. 2 to 3 miles an hour anticipated right now for Foxborough, Massachusetts. So may we get some scoring in that game? We all thought the game might have gone over with that ridiculous high total this week between the Rams and the Packers, but that one didn't. So best guess that it might go over and see what happens in that end. But that should be a good football game. And also, leading back into our morning headlines, we were talking about, do the Patriots make a deadline move? I think they should, though, because, look, when you have Tom Brady and he's in his late 20s, early 30s, mid-30s, you're always going to look down the road and say, we don't have to surround him with unbelievable talent and overpay for a lot of positions, because as long as Tom Brady's healthy and our offensive line gives him time, it doesn't really matter who's even on the football team offensively or defensively. That's how good Tom Brady is. But now that window's starting to close, as one would say, 41, 42. How much longer can you actually play in this football league before you just fall off the cliff? I think they're going to make one more surge and go after it, because if they end up with a really good wide receiver or somebody that can help out the other positions for the New England Patriots, I think they should go out and do it, because their defense is okay, but they're going to lean on Tom Brady and that offense to move the chains like they always do. One of those Patriot moves that you would make, which I don't think the Steelers would oblige in this, but, adding like a Le'Veon Bell to that team, it's just what the Patriots should do. You had the Randy Moss a couple years ago, set that offense on fire. They couldn't be stopped. We'll see if they can pull as Jason Witten would say, a rabbit out of their head and come up with an interesting player or a interesting positional addition that they can actually help the football team with. But that was an interesting game last night, but it was an absolute snooze fest. We do have some football on tonight, folks, and that is going to be played in the Mid-American Conference, affectionately known as MACtion tonight. You got 2 games on the ticket here on Tuesday. We slide it down. We can take a look at those games, 301, 302. The better of the 2 games, I think we could agree, but the more MACtion-y game is the second one that we're going to talk about, but they're both going to go off at the same time. Haven't checked the listings, but usually like one of these games is on maybe they're on ESPN, ESPN2, and ESPN News tonight, one of those 3 channels. But sometimes I know on some of these MACtion games, that second game gets like ESPN3, where it's only an internet game. So we'll take a look to see what it is. What's up, Lucky? Welcome to the chat, buddy. But Miami of Ohio, good football team. Gus Ragland's good quarterback. They have a well-rounded team as is, good head coach, defensive oriented, which is very interesting for MAC football teams. We do know Buffalo. Tyree Jackson's a great quarterback. They have 3 really good running backs, 2 very good wide receivers. So one would think you might see points, but that's not really the MO of what Miami of Ohio likes to do. A very impressive win a couple weeks back for the Buffalo Bulls, going on the road and beating Toledo, as you saw Toledo rebounding, getting the win last week versus Western Michigan. Buffalo, to me, in the MAC, folks, is the most complete team. They're going to play a little bit of defense. They have a very good middle linebacker, Khalil Hodge. They can play offense. Obviously, you have a quarterback that's like, you can't even say a mini Cam Newton because he's a really big kid, but Cam Newton in size and structure, running around with a live arm, 3 very good running backs, a very good head coach, and an adequate passing game that has maybe one. I know one's probably going to go to the NFL, but maybe 2 NFL caliber wide receivers on that front line, with Johnson, who, hey, look, he's related to a pretty good wide receiver that used to play for Miami, and also the Houston Texans, and Andre Johnson. So they are going to be formidable. But look, it's not about who's going to win the football game. If we look at it, Pinnacle opened up at 7. Chris opens up at 7, getting a little bit of line movement there, now down to 6.5 across the board. This one should be the better football game overall that we're going to take a look at tonight. Just going to bring up some statistics that we can go over and what we can look at. When you're looking at the Buffalo Bulls, I apologize. Getting that big win at Rutgers was nice. A lot of people are going to point to that Army game at home, 42-13. Oh, look, they can stumble. They can have an off day. When we were going over shows back on those weeks when they played Army, it wasn't a big football game for the Buffalo Bulls. And you say, Donnie, why wouldn't it be like they just came off beating Rutgers? Like they're going to try to they want to be bowl eligible and get as many wins as possible. They were a good football team. They're going to be bowl eligible. You're looking towards MAC championships. That's what these teams look forward to. Losing the Army has no bearing on anything that they do in the MAC. And of course, if Buffalo ran the table, folks, and went, let's just say 12-0 in the season, would they be playing in the national playoffs? No. So it really didn't matter all that much in that Army game. They got right back to business, beating Central Michigan 34-24, Akron 24-6, and a nice win on the road at Toledo by 2 touchdowns about a week and a half ago or 2 weeks ago, since they play on MACtion. Obviously, they didn't play last week on a Saturday. When we take a look at Miami of Ohio, Army's a good football team. They took Army down to the wire 2 weeks ago in that game. Beat Kent State 31-6, Akron 41-17, shot it out with a 1-point loss to Western Michigan, where they blew the lead in that football game, and beat up a bad Bowling Green team. Miami of Ohio's a pretty good football team out here, and I think they can keep it close. It's one of those games, to me, if you're getting 6.5 or less, it's probably a Buffalo Bulls type line. But if you are going to get the full 7 points, look, Miami's a really well-coached football team. They're going to play defense out there, and Gus Ragland is a capable quarterback that's not going to make the mistakes out there. This is that Miami team, I believe, that opened up the season like 0-8 and ended up like 8-8 once, or 0-5, and made it to a bowl game and ended up having a pretty successful season. Chuck Martin's a pretty good football head coach, so we'll see how that ends up. But the game that we do want to talk about here, folks, I mean, I'm not going to lie. Does anything bring a lot of excitement here to the channels and a lot of excitement to Tuesday Night Football than what we're going to be able to watch tonight with Kent State and Bowling Green? Two teams, like, if you equate both of these offenses, they go really fast because they have connections there. Head football coach from Kent State came from a Bowling Green background, where Falcon fast now turned into Golden Flashes fast, and they're going to go 100 miles an hour both sides. But if you take a look at like a car in a, they smoke their wheels before heading down the quarter mile in a drag race, that's what both of these teams do. Big, heavy engine, rip it, going as fast as possible. But are they really going anywhere on offense? You can run 100 plays a game, but it doesn't mean that you're going to automatically score points. So let's take a look at Kent, one of the faster offenses in the country, the way they like to run. 23 points versus Akron, 6 points versus Miami of Ohio, 26 versus Ohio, 24 versus Ball State, and 17 versus Ole Miss, just going back a couple of games just to show that structure. I know they played, I'm only looking at the past, but I know Kent State did go to Penn State and got routed in that game. I believe they only put up 10 points, and I think 7 of those points came early in that game. Now we flip it over to Bowling Green, who's notorious for Falcon fast, as they like to say. A couple banged up injuries, but only 14 Ohio last week. And let's not forget, they scored on the first drive of the game, 1.5 minutes into the game to get 7. They ended up with only 7 for the remainder of the way. And I think if you know MAC football, you're watching Ohio. They don't have a very good defense, man. You got to put up more points than that. 35, though, showed out versus Western Michigan. 36 versus Toledo, 17 versus Georgia Tech, and 23 versus Miami of Ohio. The key in this one, Andrew Clare is one of the better running backs in the MAC. And he's been banged up with an ankle injury over the past couple weeks. So that's going to play a factor in this game. If you get a healthy Andrew Clare, they're a pretty good football team on offense to be able to move it, because one of the wide receivers they have, Scott Miller, he's like Wes Welker, but faster. Remember Julian Edelman came out of the MAC and played quarterback for the for the Kent State Golden Flashes. He is a fast player. He's a white kid, maybe 5. If you remember Braxton Berrios at the University of Miami, he's that type of guy, but it's hard to say smaller, but he's not as stout as Braxton Berrios was, and he's faster. So he's a fun player to watch. Put this one down in the books. He's probably going to score a 50-yarder plus touchdown tonight through the air, so they should be able to hook it up. But look, 66.5, 2 teams going really fast. The one angle in this game that we can have, hey, Jeff, Donnie, quit saying let's have some fun. Well, maybe if you'd show up for time on work, like on Sunday and today, I wouldn't have to carry so many yards, stuff out here. You know what I mean? I have to carry the show all by myself. So, but yes, he is a really fast white guy. I was a white guy in college that played wide receiver. I was a slow white guy. I was the guy who would make the 11-yard catch, like catch the ball for 11 and end up with 12 yards. That was my white guy role in the offense. This guy is everything I dreamed about being a wide receiver in college, where I could beat a guy deep, or I could catch a slant pass and go 75 yards. If I caught a slant pass and had 2 steps on the DB for 8 yards, I turned that into 13 yards, and that was a big gain for me. So he's everything I wish I would grow up to be as a white wide receiver in college football. He's a really good football player, so you'll be able to check him out. But it really comes down to 66.5. Can they get there? Now, here's the angle in the game. That is a ton of points. It's going to be cold. There's no question. But what are these teams playing for at this point? They're not playing for a MAC title. They're not playing to go to a bowl game at this point. They're playing for fun. They have younger not even younger head coaches. Bowling Green fired their head football coach 2 weeks ago. Now it's Pelini that's going to be the head football coach of this game, same as it was last week for Ohio. And you're looking at Kent State on national TV, which I believe is on national TV, or at least ESPN is going to carry it in some way, shape, or form. You want to use this as a recruiting tool. You're going to be going for it on fake punts. You're going to be running reverse passes. You're going to be running stuff that you've never brought out, and just to have fun and see what happens out on the field. I can't believe this football game, if it's 4th and 2 on their own 40-yard line or close to midfield, that they're going to be punting the football in this game. They are going to be going for it on both sides, and some, football commentary that you'd usually use where you're just trying to win the football game. I think they throw caution to the wind this one and really get after it. But do you want to trust these two offenses? Because they don't have a lot of bell cows. I mean, outside of Scott Miller, who can make a play deep, Bowling Green doesn't have much. If Claire's not healthy, it's really a one-man show. And then you're looking on the other side of the ball with Barrett. He runs with his feet, which is great, yes, but he's not the most accurate passer. And you don't have a ton of weapons for Kent State. But still, something has me leading towards that over 66, because I think all hell is going to break loose. This is going to be a true MACtion game where nobody stops anybody. And they go for it on every 4th down. They don't kick the 22-yard field goal. They go for the touchdown. So this should be a fun one. If I'm leaning towards points in the Buffalo, Ohio game, let's just say take the 7. In that second game, I still want to take the over, because I believe that these two offenses are going to go extremely fast, and they're going to pull some nonsense stuff out there. So should be interesting. Yes, Vitalis, my back does hurt right now. You can hear it in my voice. I'm gutting it out for this entire show. The voice is barely hanging on. Got 2 more shows on SBR, but we run this race. Look, I'm old, man. I show these young kids like Big Men on Campus how to do it. I don't call out sick from work, man. I show up every day because you know why? There's people in this chat box that expect a show to come on this network. There's people down in Costa Rica that run behind the cameras right now. They're right now working hard. And I'm not going to deprive them of a good show here for the channels and you people out there. This is why we do it, for the people in the chat box and all the people behind the scenes. We owe it to you people to give you an honest effort of work out there. Crush that oxy, and that back pain goes away. Yeah, the oxy might put me. Look, I'm not at the tolerance level I once had when I was in my 20s, where I can have a little bit of fun on the weekends and put down some alcohol and some chicanery, as they like to say. A little bit too old for that at that time. Oxy might send me down for the rest of the week, let alone the rest of the night. But MACtion's going to be good tonight. I'm going to be watching maybe a play or two tonight. I don't know if we're going to be really getting serious, but I think I just want to take that over. I think I just want to take that Kent State and Bowling Green over. Sit back, maybe a cup of hot chocolate, rewind, and relax while I'm looking at some other games for this weekend. That one should be a fun one right now, man. It should be a really fun one. All right. What do we got next? Let's slide it down. NBA Tuesday, which I know you're going to want to hear my opinion on the NBA, since I watch maybe, 2 to 3 quarters a year of NBA action. I really enjoy the Sixers if they get into the playoffs. I can't say I've watched the Sixers more than 2 minutes this year. I can't tell you what the Sixers record is, but sure, we'll go over the NBA. Are there any false flags today? The one thing I can do is definitely point out some false flags to see if we have any. Looks like first false flag up on the board. Oh, looks like it might be those Cleveland Cavaliers that are at 4.5. See, I don't have the opening lines here. Let's get the opening lines with SBRodds.com. Give me 1 second, folks. Give me 1 second. We'll go over this right now. Let's see if we can find some stuff here. All right, got the opening lines here up on the board. Oh, yeah, folks. Oh, we got to be all in on the Cleveland Cavs tonight. 70% of the public betting with the Atlanta Hawks. The line opens up -3 for the Cavaliers. Sitting at 4. Folks, look, we don't have to go any further. There's your false flag for the night. NBA action. Cleveland Cavaliers are your right side of campus play of the day. We don't have to go any further. I'm going to look at one game at the top of the board, see a massive discrepancy overall in bets going in one direction, the line going the other way. That is your false flag right there. And you know why I can tell you that? I haven't watched 1 second of Cleveland Cavaliers basketball. I haven't watched a second of the Atlanta Hawks. I know Kevin Love plays for the Cleveland Cavaliers, and he's hurt. I think J.R. Smith is still there. Atlanta Hawks. I want to say, because I think the Sixers just play the Hawks. I think Vince Carter play for the Hawks? Yeah, I'm not even sure. I'm not even sure of one player on the Hawks, but we will be going all in tonight in the NBA on the Cleveland Cavaliers under a false flag. And this from a guy who has no idea who plays on either team. But let's see if we can cash this ticket right here on that one. Slide it down one more time. We're going to go waste of TV time before we close it out here in the next few minutes. And we'll see what here. Playoff rankings show starts tonight. Is anybody interested in that on ESPN? Anybody interested in the playoff rankings that come out that have absolutely no bearing whatsoever on what the actual playoff rankings will be? They're going to have an hour show tonight on ESPN, and you're going to wait to see Alabama number one. You're going to wait to see where they put Notre Dame, knowing that if Notre Dame just runs the table and is what it is, they're going to be in anyway. You could put Notre Dame at 57th in the country right now if you wanted to, knowing that that has no bearing on anything. And if Notre Dame handles their business, no matter what anybody else does, Notre Dame will be in the playoff because that's what ratings do. How about maybe Ohio State at this point, getting their annual destruction game that they just had? Ohio State's massive ratings. They handle their business. Doesn't matter where they put them in the ratings tonight. They'll be in. The only one that matters, and I can't even believe that they actually put this on TV, is the last playoff show that shows the actual rankings and who's going to be in the playoffs. It's not even interesting TV. What's interesting about what they're going to do tonight? Are the teams around the country going to have pizza parties tonight on the first to see where they actually line up and rank, even though they will slide teams in throughout the next 3 to 4 weeks just to build interest? You'll see a team at number 4 this week, who next week they'll just put at number 5 just to say, ooh, they slipped back when nothing actually happened. Or a team that's sitting in the 7th spot, ooh, if they can get hot and run, they might be able to get to 4. And they'll take that team in the 7th spot. Next week, they'll move them up in the 4th spot. Ooh, when none of it means anything, and they're just doing it to just have a TV show and talk nonsense for an hour. The most nonsensical TV show is the playoff show that they're going to show tonight on ESPN. It's hilarious. They should make it at least the Elite 8 for the playoffs. No, they should go down to what Division 3 does in Division 2. They should have a 24-team playoff in NCAA football. Why can high schools have like 24-team playoffs? Why does Division 3 have tons of playoff teams? Why does Division 2 have tons of playoff teams? Why does FCS have tons of playoffs, but FBS can't? Mike Leach said it right. He's like, look, your local softball league can put together a 24-team playoff or a 16-team playoff, but for some reason, Division I football can't do it. I mean, come on, man. And again, they're all about money in the NCAA. Have a 24-team playoff and watch the ratings explode through the roof. How about we take out those cash money games early, right? Woo! Alabama, Alcorn State. How can I miss that? Ole Miss, Kent State. That's a must-watch. You can't take that game out of here. How about a little MEAC football? How about, Grambling going up and playing Nebraska? Woo! Grambling, Nebraska? You can't take that off the schedule. Man, my favorite game of the year. You take all those paycheck games out of the business and include a 24-team playoff that, look, you can have your games late in the season. If you miss out on the playoffs, it's November 15th, the cut line, right? And you miss out on the playoffs, why don't you just reschedule a game? Like, yo, call them up. Boop, 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 boop. Yeah, this is Mike Leach at Washington State. We missed out on the playoffs. Mark, you want to have a game? Where do you want to play it? Yeah, sure. We'll come down to. We'll take a little vacation. We'll come down to South Beach and we'll play down there. What's wrong with that? USC, Clay Helton, call somebody up. Like, you know what? UCLA, you're out of it. Let's go. Let's double down again. Let's play again this weekend. And you want to play in the Rose Bowl or the Coliseum? People would eat that up, man. It's easy. NCAA, call me. You want to have more fun and make more money? I got you over here. I got you. But anyway, folks, only a minute left here in the show, so we will wrap it up. My voice made it. I'm going to be rested for the afternoon show. I'm going to try to get even more rested for that back-to-back with me and Jimmy in the Bag. Come on the Audible and talk NFL football, which there are some awesome games, man. At 4 o'clock and later this weekend, we'll dip into. We'll get that fresh look. We'll see that opening lines where they're sitting at, where we think they'll end up by the end of the week. Injuries that might play into it, playoff implications. And right around the time me and Jimmy the Bag come on for the Audible, folks, the trade deadline will be over. So maybe you got a Le'Veon Bell shifting focus to another team that we could talk about. We'll have some fun on the Audible a little bit later. I'll be on with or maybe I won't be. Maybe I'll be flying solo again on the Big Man on Campus with our WCKG Fox Radio Sports Show here this afternoon at 2 p.m. Central, 3 p.m. Eastern. Maybe I have to go solo on that one as well. You'll never know, but thanks for checking the right side of campus. I was your host today, Donnie Rightside. Thanks for fighting it out here with me, fighting through this flu season here in the Northeast. If you haven't done so yet, folks, check out SBRodds.com. Give us a follow at SBR Sports Picks on Twitter. And most importantly, hit the subscribe button down at the bottom. Every time we go live on the channel, whether it's just me riding the solo mission, whether we're fighting together through to make some money, or just trying to fight through a cold, We'll be here for you at sportsbookreview.com. Have a great day, folks. We'll see you tomorrow on the right side of campus, 10 a.m.